U luistert naar de DCDW-podcast gepresenteerd door Paul de Vries. Elke week praat Paul met interessante gasten over actuele online automotive onderwerpen. De DCDW-podcast wordt mede mogelijk gemaakt door nieuweautokopen.nl, Marktplaats, Marble, Autodata Nederland, You Name It en Bovee.
Welkom op de DCDW-podcast van deze week met als gasten Dave Page, Jo Gillespie en Ernst Klein. Ernst, CEO van We Build Retail en Dave Page en Jo Gillespie, de CEO's, de founders, de oprichters, de eigenaren van Dealer e-Process. Gentlemen, welcome in the DCDW-podcast this week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To introduce yourself, can you maybe and share something about yourself? Who is Joe? Who is Dave? Who is Ernst? And tell the audience, who are you?
So I'm Dave Page. Been in the business since 1991. I have held pretty much every position within the car dealership, from washing cars to running the service department to directing internet sales to being, I would say, one of the pioneers of syndicating inventory onto U.S. Dealer websites to where we opened up a company, which is now Dealer e-Process. Been in business for almost 12 years.
So you started the business when we turned the internet on, when we put out the fax modem off.
That's correct.
Okay. And Joe?
Oh, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joe Gillespie, owner as well, partners with Dave Page with Dealer e-Process, and I am a former car dealer. We owned several franchises in the U.S.
Okay. En Ernst?
Ja, ik doe het even in het Nederlands natuurlijk. CEO van We Build Retail. En heel erg bezig met het verbeteren van het retailen bij autobedrijven, met name ook dealerbedrijven. En wij zijn een aantal jaren geleden een partnership aangegaan met Dealer e-Process om gewoon hele goede technologie op het gebied van websites naar Nederland toe te halen. En om daarmee te anticiperen op die virtuele showroom die er gaat komen en die zo belangrijk wordt voor autobedrijven. Als de klant niet meer in de showroom komt, dan moet hij hem op een andere manier zien te tackelen.
Yeah, because when you talk about something, the showroom, what it used to be, is now the digital showroom. The website and the showroom is only a space where you deliver the cars. And Dave, about Dealer e-Process, what are you building? Websites?
We build an array of tools. We've lined ourselves up to be the masters of data, we like to call it. So we are the website builder. We are the AdWords delivery component. We are the Bing delivery component. We syndicate inventory to eBay and Craigslist. We try to tie all this data together and then tie it to the dealer's management system. Mm-hmm. Our goal is to complete the circle. We're looking to be able to follow the customer from the moment they hit the site through all the applications we've built, how they got there to begin with, and then tie it together with whether or not this vehicle was actually sold by the car dealer, and what did it cost to sell the car. So
that's in one website?
All in one website.
On one website.
Yeah, because what we've seen in the space right now is there's a lot of confusion between different companies not having the ability to share data. So if we could be the one company that has created all the components from start to finish, we'll have no black holes in our data, which means we will be able to complete that circle to give the full picture.
Yeah, but is the data and what you can do about the data, is that a buzzword or is it actual real data where you actually can sell more cars with the data?
Well, it doesn't allow you to sell more cars at first, but it helps you to understand what it costs to sell a car, so you're not spending money in places that you shouldn't be spending it. So,
like the marketing spend.
Like marketing spend. So if you understand what type of marketing actually sells the car, then you could put the marketing dollars in the right place. What we see with dealers today is they actually just blatantly throw money at all kinds of mediums, and then they hope to sell a car, but they don't actually know if a car is being sold.
Like spray and pray.
Spray and pray. And what we find is if a really good salesman walks into a dealership and says you should spend $15,000 on eBay or on Google, the dealership will listen to the salesperson if it's a good pitch and they'll do it. Mm-hmm. But there's never any data behind the actual pitch. So we're trying to bring some transparency
of the salesperson
and reality. Yes.
Yeah. But is that also the biggest difference between the US market and the Dutch market? Because you are saying it's so easy, 15,000 a month to eBay or whatever. And when we talk about here in Holland, when you spend 1,000 or 1,500 euros a month, somebody gets a heart attack.
Well, I think it's because it's still early here, and I think there's not enough of data to tell the story as to why you should be doing it. Mm-hmm. So I think as we have come to this market, we've started to raise a few eyebrows that because we're transparent and you can truly see where a lead came from, for starters, and take a look at what marketing budget you had to get those leads, and now match that with what's in the CRM to determine whether the car sold. Now there's a story and there's a belief and there's a hope that if I spend more, I will sell more. But without being able to connect these dots, there's no reason to sell more because you can't tie it to the money that was spent.
Because if you spend on the wrong place, you are ending never more sales. But on the other end, you are a website platform, you are a website builder. But in a world of 2017, when we have platforms like Facebook, like Instagram, etc., all his own eco and system, is the website still that important hub, or are you going to fight?
No,
everything?
See, the unique position that we sit in as a website provider is the position that accepts all the inbound traffic. We are the landing page of every platform. So if you are spending, if you're on Instagram or Facebook or Google or LinkedIn, wherever you're advertising, all of these mediums need a place to land the consumer. That landing place is the car dealer's website. So if we are reading in the traffic correctly, which we are, and we know the spend which is happening on these mediums, which we know, we can then tie the medium of spend, the source, to the website to what the consumer does, to the lead, to the car sale. And then I could have a conversation with the dealer and say, Google helped you sell these many cars, Google this many cars, Instagram this many cars. And what we found is not all marketing works.
No.
So it's interesting to tie real data back to the marketer, because we have found that there are some parts of Google that work, but there are other parts that don't work. So we get to have a different converson with somebody from Google.
The display banner on the left fold.
Yeah, it does not work.
No.
Good example.
Okay, but when we are here at Marktplaats, it is not in our interest to send the dealer traffic. It has to be on the platform here. Sure. The lead has come from here. Yeah. How do you work with that kind of powers?
So here's what we've started to do a little bit in the U.S., and this is forward thinking. But what we like to do is we like to match the consumer that starts on your site and follow that consumer onto the dealers. We'll say it's the tier 3 site.
Yeah.
So if a consumer starts on your site, we would assign that consumer an anonymous ID. So we know who this customer is, but we don't actually have their name yet. And then when this customer transfers, so you would be the influencer, and maybe they go through Google and then go to the dealer's website, we would match the ID that started on your site that is now on the dealer's website. Yeah. Now when this consumer actually submits a lead, the influencing website was yours. So even though they didn't come directly from their website, your website would be given the appropriate credit, which would then tie back to the sale.
Yeah, because there are portals in Holland, for example, gelukkig, luckily not Marktplaats, where you cannot have a direct link to the dealer website. It has to be on that platform.
Right.
So you only can click out to start a new search and then go to the dealer's website. So that's why I'm asking the question, is the dealer website still the biggest hub or the most important hub, or are we going to divide our attention to the many portals there are, Facebook, etc.?
Yeah, I think the ultimate trust of the consumer and the place they actually are going to purchase the car from is always going to be the one that wins, and that, fortunately for us, is going to be the website. Yeah. That's where their assets are at. That's where their vehicles are listed at. That's where their service departments are listed at. That's where additional data is at. So I still think the website is the main hub, but I still think that we're coming into a time and place right now where car dealers are starting to understand or want to understand that if I spend money on these other portals, they're also understanding that those phones are not ringing from those portals anymore, and those leads are not happening from those portals anymore. So those sites are more influencing sites as places where you found the inventory to begin with because there was a bigger data set of cars, but it's not actually the place where you submit your information. But the confusion here in all markets is these companies are still very successful influencing the consumer to purchase that car. They're just not getting the credit for it. Right. So until we can connect those dots through technology, not through leads, but through technology, those sites are going to have a hard time telling their story, which is still a good one.
The dealer e-process platform can provide that data now or in the future?
We are ready to provide it now.
Okay.
The potential problem is getting the portals to play ball. I mean, they have to be willing to do the integration that's necessary to follow a consumer from one portal to another, and it's got to be done through, data sharing, appropriately. But that's the only way it can be done because you're actually leaving
only
platforms.
the biggest one who are very and confident that they are providing the value are want to deliver that promise, and the ones who are playing the market for many years to do bigger things than they actually are going to distract, right?
Yeah, and we're seeing in the U.S. there are companies, such as AutoTrader and Cars.com and Car Gurus, which are major. They're starting to do this because, again, it adds value to their story. It makes their story sound better, and it gives them the ability to keep dealers coming back to their product, to put their cars on. Because without it, if the decision is made only around leads and phone calls, those companies won't be in business much longer. They have to find a new way.
Another way. Hey, and now you're working for 2 years now in Holland with Ernst, with We Build Retail. How's the business doing?
I believe we're doing great. Right now, there are a few challenges with learning the market, which is why it was important for us to bring the technology, to the country. Yeah. But at the same time, understanding, the culture is where We Build Retail together with, dealer process. Technology, we feel, puts us at the highest level, in the space. So the technology was always something we were strong at, but understanding the culture is the icing on the cake, if you will.
No, but I'm a big supporter of your platform, and the only thing what we are talking about a lot is the look and feel. What's the new things about the look and feel, because that's kind of important here.
Yeah, so it's funny you asked that. I had a conversation with Ernst earlier today, and this is the way I'll phrase it. If you look at the way that Europeans dress, most of that dress ends up coming to the United States. So the style starts in Europe, and then it comes to the United States, and then you'll see people dressing like they're European in the United States. So when we came here, the first thing that we noticed was United States culture and the style of website was just too busy for this market. It's like too many colors, and it's like a newspaper, and everything's blinking. So what we found early on, and again, couldn't do this without the partnership with We Build Retail, was the clean, sleek look and maybe less call to action buttons and less blatant way of putting messaging out there. So we learned early on to kind of tailor our websites for this market, but still have the strong technology core behind it. So today, I think we're there. We have many new styles that we are going to be releasing in the next few months, which I believe we'll be talking about possibly later today or in another podcast. So we're excited to show our new platform to this market.
Maybe that's a good reason then to ask Ernst for a new interview for the podcast when the new templates are live. I think we are piloting now with the website of Mark van Beek to make it cleaner, more smooth, and the less call to action. 2 or 3 instead of 8.
Yes.
So, but once again, I'm a big supporter of the platform because I can see on the back end all the leads, all the data, and I can make sense of it. But the biggest problem I have to educate the dealers what the data is telling them, and they don't have to trust their gut feeling, but to look at the data. Yeah. And about the data, the iSPY, because that was the thing what's drawn me into the system at the first place. Yeah. Can you tell more about iSPY and what it does on the
Sure. So first off, we take a lot of influences from other, we'll say industries. So when we looked at iSPY, we initially had some of the functionality of Amazon in mind, and we'll call it the Amazon experience. So our goal here was to arm the dealer with more information than they've ever had before. So as a consumer hits the website, before they submit a lead, we assign an anonymous ID, the same way we talked about earlier, to this consumer. We then watch every move that this consumer makes to where they might visit 5 different vehicles. At some point, this consumer will submit their information. At the time of submitting their information, we will not only pass the vehicle information that they submitted on, but we will pass their entire click path history. Mm-hmm. And now here's where things get interesting. The way that dealers function today is they normally call that consumer the minute the lead comes into the dealership. At least we'd like you to call within the first 5 to 10 minutes if trained properly. What usually happens is the customer won't pick up their phone because they're just not ready to have a conversation yet. Most CRMs tell you to call that customer at the same time the next day, which also might not be the right time to call the consumer. So what iSPY does is watches for this consumer to come back to the website potentially a second or a third time. Our data tells us the consumers actually come back to websites 7 times within submitting a lead.
In what kind of window?
It could be within 3 to 4 month window.
Okay.
It just depends on what level they are at is ready to buy. What iSPY does is identify to the dealer that this consumer is back on their website right now, which means right now would be the best time to make that phone call versus a particular time according to the CRM. So through the use of data and consumer behavior, iSPY was able to raise the connection rates as high as 400% for dealers who have their processes in place.
And that was a dealer which has the process in place, the 400%, or a weak dealer
that has it in place. Yeah, because if you don't have the process built to make the phone call when you need to make the phone call, then iSPY is not going to work for you. Okay. But if you have the processes in place, then you're going to raise your connection rates.
Because when we talk about an example, I'm submitting a lead, I'm on the website, the salesperson are calling me, I don't want to pick up the phone because I thought it is an invasion of my privacy at that moment, because it is too fast. Then they try me another time in 1 hour, or in our case 16 hours or whatever. But if I'm back on the website 4 days, then I have to call them.
Right, and what you'll find also, and this goes back to the data, is when the customer comes back a second time, they might look at different vehicles than they looked at the first time. And then with iSPY, we can track customers, for example, up to 2 years. And the reason it's important is at some point this customer is going to buy a car, and at some point they're going to come back to this website for service. So it works on both sides of the business, not just sales. So you'll even know what they're looking at on the service side of the business if you have your website up to date with content.
But that's an interesting topic you mentioned on the service side, because I see a lot of websites here which has 1 page on the service, or maybe 2, but that's it.
Yes.
What can you do more about the service, because that's 80% of the
yeah,
profits.
I mean that's the content that what we've seen so far in this market is the content's very thin on the service side. It's primarily dominated by a framed in service scheduler that's connected to the dealership, which is fine, but the framed in service application does not contain the iSPY code. It could if properly integrated, but as it sits today, it doesn't. So until rich content populates the site, iSPY will have a hard time working on the service side. But the functionality and technology is there for it to work today if the content was on the site. So I think the goal is to get the content on the site.
Works it also the iSPY when a customer is visiting the website, you build up his DNA,
His profile.
He doesn't submit a lead. He's coming into the showroom. You have his information. You have to send something out to enforce him to click on the link to track him back to the original,
to his profile. Okay. Now that's the way it works today. In the future, we will have the ability for a consumer to actually build out a profile on the site itself, which would then connect all their historical history to them. So that's in the works. So there might be a situation where a consumer has been on the site for 8 to 10 months and they've done lots of different searches and done many things, but they've never submitted their information.
No.
Well, if they are at that time ready to build a profile, it would pull all that information back into them. Yeah. But there's one more thing on the iSPY that I think we should mention. The iSPY data is also used to know what to display to the consumer when they come back a second time. So today, if a consumer came to the website, and let's just say that they are looking at a particular car, well, when they come back to the website a second time, you would want your main banner and your model scroller and your smart search typing to mirror the vehicles that they looked at in the past. You wouldn't want to show them an offer on the home page that has nothing to do with what they've looked at in the past. So there's a personalization element to it as well.
So actually, when you have 3,000 consumers on your website each month, you are building 3,000 different homepages.
Yes, basically unique.
Yeah,
and in real time.
Yeah. Hey, and about the other things, we have a lot of conversations with OEMs, like General Motors, the French brands, etc. And they enforce dealers in a website which seems like it was built in 2005, I think. It has nothing to do with to do business in the year we are living in 2017. What is the topic in America about that? Is it again mandatory or certification, or what's happened there?
Yeah, so it's a problem in the U.S. as well. So the issue that we're facing in the U.S. is being able to connect what's happening at the tier 1 level or the OEM level,
that's
and what's
the
happening
OEM level,
yes,
the tier 1, okay.
and then at the tier 3 level, which is the dealerships side. So, for example, you might see a commercial on TV about a particular lease payment on a vehicle, and then you would show up to the dealer's website, and you can't find anything on the website about the lease payment.
No.
So the OEM usually would hire some type of an ad agency that would help assist getting information onto the dealer's website. But this is where there's a chronic failure. The ad agency is usually telling you which vehicles to advertise and what prices to put on the cars, and then they tell you what slide number that these should be on the site. So a Toyota Corolla should be in slide number 2, and a Toyota Camry should be on slide number 3. The problem here is
nobody's clicking on the number 3.
Well, not only is nobody clicking on it, but there's data that would tell you why they're not clicking on it. If I was looking at a Toyota Highlander the last time that I was on the website, I certainly don't want to see a Toyota Camry when I show up to the website the next time around. And the technology is there to put the appropriate messaging in front of the person at the appropriate time. But currently today, it's just not being used.
No. But are you a strong believer when you can have a contract with an OEM for a mandatory platform, or do you believe in a certification that many vendors can be the partner of the OEM?
So I'm a big fan of the certifications because I think that there should be some due process done so not everyone could be a provider, because having too many people or companies in at one time is channel disruption.
It's too much clutter, etc.
But that being said, it's a very old way of doing business to only have one. Dealers want choice. I mean, at the end of the day, they sell the same car against their competitor. Their buildings look the same. Their marketing is the same. There needs to be something that could allow them to compete, to be different. And that is the website. So being able to give dealers a choice of providers, I think is a key element of being successful for a car dealer is to have that choice. So I'm a fan of the certification, but a bigger fan of the choice.
Okay. And for the next question, what is your personal eBay experience? I want to have some time for our sponsors.
Autodata Nederland. Beter taxeren, inkopen en verkopen? Dat krijg je voor elkaar met Autodata. Eigentijdse applicaties voor automotive professionals. Kijk voor meer info op www.autodata.nl. LEF, het lead management systeem van You Name It, waarbij al uw leads in één systeem kunnen worden opgevolgd, helpt u op weg van lead naar deal. LEF is vernieuwend, verrassend en compleet. Door haar koppelingen met vele automotive leadbronnen en het eenvoudige management dashboard heeft u real-time inzicht in uw volledige leadproces. Uw leadproces volledig onder controle? Kijk dan op datislefhebben.nl. Marble Digital Marketing Solutions is het online marketingbureau voor de autobranche. Wij bouwen data-driven websites op een platform dat volledig is geoptimaliseerd voor gebruik binnen de autobranche. Door vele koppelingen zijn wij in staat om een naadloze integratie van online naar offline te realiseren voor u en uw klanten. Een hogere conversie via uw eigen website? Voorzien van geavanceerde techniek en functionaliteiten? Tegen een vaste fee per maand zonder hoge eenmalige investeringen? Dan bent u bij Marble aan het juiste adres. www.marble.nl. Wij helpen bedrijven in de mobiliteitsbranche bij al hun verzekeringen, financieringen en rechtshulp. Onze missie? Onze klanten nog succesvoller laten ondernemen. Als onderdeel van BOVAG bestaan wij voor en door de mobiliteitsbranche. Anders dan andere partijen vinden wij het dan ook belangrijk om de branche sterk te houden. Bové mij. Samen vooruit.
So my personal experience on eBay would be, purchasing items on my own. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I've had a little bit of a different experience than most consumers because I've worked at the dealership to where I've actually been able to post the vehicles onto eBay.
On eBay.
And we did it many years ago. eBay was very hot in the U.S.
Yeah.
It was a great way to sell exotic cars. Yeah. So I happened to work at a Chevrolet dealership. And
you have exotic cars there, yeah?
We sold many cars there. And what was interesting was...
Exotic cars as well.
Yeah. What's interesting was if you had a unique vehicle like a Corvette.
Yeah.
Now, we lived in the city of Chicago.
Yeah.
And in the city of Chicago, we have very cold winters.
Yeah.
Well, there's many times where we would have a Corvette in stock that you could not sell in the winter.
Yeah.
But if you were able to put it on eBay, somebody from California would find it, and we would be able to sell a vehicle across state lines that we could not sell unless we had something like eBay. So eBay gave us the ability early on to be able to post our cars to a wide market.
Yeah.
But now today, things have changed a little bit. For me personally, I lean more on Amazon, but there's a reason for it for me. I think marketplaces, such as Google and Bing, they were able to bring the product, the consumer to the product. I like eBay because it brings the product to the consumer. So there's a little different that I like with Amazon because it's just it's easier.
Is that the same? Because I had an article on LinkedIn about Brian Benstock about Paragon Direct, who are saying Amazon is bringing the product to the consumer and the other way. What are your thoughts about Paragon Direct, and what can we learn? What can we do on the dealer e-process platform to be also on that level? Yeah.
So currently, Dealer e-process is building out a digital retailing cart, which will have options for home delivery. So that's something that we're in the middle of building right now. There is a little bit of a struggle with collecting all the data points needed to make this work completely. I know there's lots of companies out there stating that they have a digital retailing cart, but the minute that I lay eyes on it, I can poke 20 different holes into it. There are lots of data providers that need to be able to provide data to make the cart work successfully. So I like what Paragon Honda is doing. I know the company. I believe it's a Roadster that they're using for their cart. They're a great company. But at the same time, what I do like about Ben Stock is the fact that he's willing to jump into the pool, not just dip a toe in it. He's jumping into the pool. And I think someone has to disrupt the market. And it's good to know that he's the one doing it, because I think he made a really good point. I happened to watch his keynote speak at Digital Dealer. And what I liked about it was he is willing to lose money to get the process right. Yeah. Whereas most car dealers won't, I guess, challenge the process unless they're making money at the same time.
Or staying at the pool.
That's right. Yeah, they'll stay on the sidelines.
Yeah.
I'll jump in a little bit on this, is that what the U.S. shopper is saying right now is that they would like to see the process go faster.
Yeah.
They do not want to spend 6 hours initiating the process once they get to the dealership. They would like to see the start of that process start online and then finish it at the dealership.
Yeah, for the last 30 minutes or something.
Exactly. So they want to start the process and celebrate the delivery instead of start the process when they get to the store. Yeah. And that's what I think Ben Stock is trying to do.
Yeah, convenience factor.
Yeah, try to get it rolling. Try to get the trade out of the way. Try to get the finance application out of the way. Try to get some of it negotiated a little bit before they get there.
But I'm searching then for the Dutch variation, because we are not staying here 6 hours at the dealership, because you are coming in for you submit a lead, you get a proposal, you're finishing the contract, and then you go home, and the delivery is 5 days from now or 3 months from now, depending on the car.
Right.
So we're not staying here 6 hours, but on the other hand, if you are at the grocery, you are searching for the quickest lane, because time is something matters. So every minute we can and shave off, it is 0.1.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that speaks to the differences of the two marketplaces, and why for us it was important to be able to, connect with a rebuild retail so we could understand this market, because I don't think all the tools that are being built in the U.S. are going to apply here, and vice versa. We've seen things both ways that need to be adjusted, but right now that is the hot topic in the U.S. is all about being able to shorten that cycle time and deliver the car at the house if possible.
Hey, and about conversions, did you see a big difference in the data between the US data and the Dutch data about the difference between the conversion by online and by phone? Is it here different, or?
Yeah, so it is quite a bit different. In the U.S. right now, the biggest difference is the majority of the traffic, 65 to 70%, comes from mobile. Yeah. And here we're seeing anywhere between 35 to 40%. So there's a different type of connection, with the consumer. Yeah. We see many more phone calls coming from the U.S. versus every lead. So in the U.S., we will see 12 to 13 phone calls for every one lead submitted. We're currently working with a new company here. And
how was it 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
4 years ago, it was 4 to 1.
Still.
So we've grown more, and that's because of the emergence of mobile. So it's actually much more difficult to fill out a lead form on a mobile device than it is on a desktop. So consumers are now starting to ring the phones again, which means BDC process is ultimately more important than it was 4 years ago. And we're seeing this in the data, 100%.
Oh, because we are here on Marketplace, we are at 1 against 1. So every email lead has one and a call lead. And 70% of the traffic on Marketplace is mobile. Yeah. But the app is maybe because 80% of the users are logged in, so they don't have to put on their name, etc. And can submit the lead with one button, and then it's more easier. But still, I have dreaded the phone call than the email lead. The last thoughts. What are your vision about the near future in Holland? What are you going to do with dealer e-process, with rebuild retail? What's the way ahead.
I'll interject first, Dave. The one thing I want to make mention is I still believe there's a lot of consumers that are getting to the store without submitting a lead or a phone call.
Yeah,
So,
still.
in talking to the GMs in the U.S., we feel that it could be as high as 50 to 60% of the consumers they're on the site, but they're still not picking up the phone or submitting a lead. Okay, so with those consumers, portals like eBay and other big third-party portals, we do know that they start at the top of the funnel at these portals, big consideration sets for the shoppers, and then as they work their way down the funnel, here they are on the dealer's website. eBay got them there. They found the car on eBay or on these big portals. And you're right, it is hard for them to get over to the dealer website, but the consumer's smart enough to find their way over to the dealer website. So from the portal, they're back on Google probably searching the dealer's website. Now they're on the dealer's website. And I think what's new for us is tracking all this and making sure that we identify where the customers are coming from. And that's what we're working on real seriously right now, is all this tracking. So we know that the consumer originated at eBay and ended up buying the car at the dealership because of eBay or any third-party portal.
Tracking a leadless customer through things such as IP addresses and things of that nature.
Right.
And so what is the future with DEP and We Build Retail?
A bright future, of course.
Yeah.
The team, the DEP team is over here to have a joint meeting with our team, We Build Retail. So that's good to discuss, new trends, technologies, how to use data. We learn a lot from those guys, and of course they learn from us. Considering the Dutch market.
The European market as well.
The European
gateway
market, of course,
to Europe.
But first we have to be very successful in the Dutch market. But of course we're looking at the other countries as well. And we have a lot of things and ideas in stock to come up with. Of course we're going to use the new features which are invented for the American market, and we're going to apply them as well in Holland. So still a lot of things to do.
Okay, Dave, Joe, thank you for
hosting us.
This conversation. When people want to connect with you, what's the best way?
Best way is definitely email for me. It's dave@dealereprocess.com.
And Joe?
Joe@dealereprocess.com.
And LinkedIn, Facebook?
LinkedIn, Facebook, everything.
LinkedIn.
Yeah?
No Facebook.
No Facebook. No.
There's only so many hours in the day.
And Ernst?
I'm the Ernst at webuildretail.com.
Okay. Thank you for the conversation. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you in your busy schedule here in Amsterdam, because you are here almost 1.5 days, I thought. So very enthusiastic about this conversation. So thank you.
Bedankt voor het luisteren naar Digital Car Dealer Workshop, de podcast. Volgende week is er weer een nieuwe uitzending met wederom een interessante gast en boeiende onderwerpen. Kijk voor meer informatie en de notes van deze uitzending op www.dcdw.nl/podcast. En wilt u meer weten over DCDW? Kijkt u dan op dcdw.nl. De DCDW-podcast wordt mede mogelijk gemaakt door nieuweautokopen.nl, Marktplaats, Marble, Autodata Nederland, You Name It en Bovee mij.